All right. Well, thanks for checking in with us in our free webinar tonight. Like I said, I'm Robert Linville with Precision Golf School, and we started Precision Golf School 25 years ago. As a leader in the golf teaching industry in the Carolinas, we were one of the first to have the integration of video and computer technology. And since then, we've always tried to stay at the forefront of some of the top technology available for golf instruction. We founded the school in an indoors studio, basically, back in 1989. And through the years, we've developed and worked through the technology, and some of it's been great and some of it not so good. So tonight we'll talk about one of the great aspects of this technology with TrackMan. Like I said, I'm Robert Linville. I'm the Director of Instruction and founder of Precision Golf School. I've been teaching for about 30 years, and who knows how many thousands of lessons and hours, and we've had some successful people come through and great teachers come through. We have a great staff now. So one of the things we want to do as we go through is we'll take time and answer some questions. I'm going to give a little brief overview of TrackMan. You can see on the screen right now, we've got 26 data parameters. So what does that mean, and why are they important, and which ones are more important? Which ones do we care about? How do we use data for different things? Certainly we look at different data aspects for club fitting as we do for teaching, but some we look at the same things. So as we're going through this, if you have questions, just fire your questions, and then we'll take a little break during the session and answer these questions. So just type it in and I'll answer the questions. TrackMan started as a group from Denmark. One of the brothers, I am not going to even try to pronounce their names, but one of the brothers played on the Danish elite team, and his brother was they did a lot of research in the medical field, and then they had a partner whose expertise was in the technology of missile tracking systems. So basically that's how this came together. They spent several years. In 2003 they launched TrackMan. And as they launched TrackMan, they sold it to 5 manufacturers for $200,000 apiece. So fortunately, they have been able to come down on price. So now it's a little bit more affordable. So as we got going and they began to get it into the retail side, it started out as basically just a ball information gathering device. And as it's gone, they have kept working with it, and now, obviously on the tour, I mean, you see, like, you go to a tour event on Tuesday and you'll see 15 or 20 of them out on the practice range. So certainly it's a great information device. It's a radar tracking device. It gives us a lot of information that we weren't able to get before. Certainly video is key. Video is like our x-ray, and we use video, you know, I believe in video. I've been using it since '89, well before that, since like 1985 in my instruction. But now with TrackMan, you can integrate both, and the TrackMan becomes more like an MRI. So as we go through that, we're able to help somebody identify what they do well and then what's not happening. Because in the end, we want to know, really, why did the ball go where it went? And then what can we do to help make the ball go where we want it to go more often? So the more information we can have to simplify the information, like if you just took this screen and you go, whew, that's a lot of information. I don't want people to know this much information. And that's our job as teachers, is to take the information and to help somebody look at it and go, here's the things we care about. So if you're having a specific issue with a specific shot pattern or anything like that, then those are some of the questions, I'll be glad to go over is what kind of numbers do we look for and why we go certain directions and make certain movements. So as I said, in essence, the TrackMan really gives us two things. It gives us information on club delivery, how the golf club is moving, especially at impact, and ball behavior. So it tracks the ball, and it tracks the club. It's TrackMan. And it gives us information so that we can, therefore, find solutions to help people hit better golf shots. And hopefully turn that into playing better golf. So that's our goal. So as we start out, we've got this screen, and you'll see we've got all these things on here. So what I thought I'd do is start out and just go over a golf swing, a couple of them, and then as we go in to look at more information from these specific swings, then get you to ask your questions. I'll be glad to answer them, and then we'll keep going with how do we produce and how do we get movement so that we can produce shots that will help you, play better golf, because that's the end result that we're all after. So let's go to a screen here. This is actually from today. It was freezing today. So this is actually from Mike Goodis, who plays on the Champions Tour. And you can see all the numbers that are up there, the ones I really care about the most. So if you go to the one everybody looks at first, which would be this one, how far did the ball go? Well, just to give you a temperature idea, he usually hits his, in this case he was hitting 8-iron, usually hits it about 157 or 8, and today it's going about 10 yards shorter. So it was a nice 35-degree day today. So anyway, we take this information and we go, what are we looking for? What are we trying to achieve in this golf swing? And what do all these numbers mean? So we've got a shot, and you can see the shot flight over here on the right. Basically a pretty straight shot, just fell to the right, and I think that's a little bit of wind. So as we get a shot pattern, one of the objectives of our teaching and instruction using TrackMan is not necessarily go, these are numbers that you should achieve. They are more like, these are numbers that we like when you're swinging well. So in this case, these are pretty much the numbers for Mike with an 8-iron that produce a pretty good result. It's usually straight to a slight draw. And in this case, again, the wind was slightly, as we were hitting from left to right, so it pushed the ball a little bit. So as we go through this, what are the main components that we're trying to use to look at the shot pattern we want? In Mike's case, we know we want this ball to go start pretty straight or slightly right of the target. We're in trouble if he starts the ball left of the target. Again, specific to a certain player here. And in general, you know, for right-handed players, in general in our teaching, we're trying to get the ball to start to the right of our target line, either on or to the right of it. Rarely do we want to start it left. However, for a person that feels much more comfortable seeing a ball fade than draw, then certainly we want our numbers skewed so that that's the shot we produce. So let's go over a few of these numbers. I don't want ball speed up here. We'll put it like this. So the first number that I really pay a lot of attention to is club path. And club path is the relation of the club, the center of the club, sweet spot of the club, to the target line at impact. We have two numbers up here that kind of relate to the direction of the club. One is this number, swing direction, and the other is club path. So swing direction is the measurement of the club at its lowest point. We can see an angle of attack here, in this case, negative 5.6 degrees. What that means is that his club was coming down at this angle into impact. For an 8-iron, that's about our desired attack angle for his club speed and his particular swing. Most golfers, average golfers, tend to be too steep for their club speed, and it doesn't match path correctly. And if you have a slower club speed with too much angle of attack, in general, you would tend to hit the ball shorter than you would like to with every club. And certainly there's specific shots we hit that are different, but just in general. So the club path being the first thing I tend to look at for most golfers. Most golfers want to draw the ball. If, in this case, I had a player that wanted to fade the ball, this club path left, not right. But let's use this one. So club path in to out to the right. That, again, that's measured at impact. Attack angle down, which means the low point of the swing is now in front. Here's a club coming down into impact. Well, angle of attack being down like this, the low point of the swing is forward of impact, which gives the swing direction, which means at this point, the low point, let's say it was right here in the swing, then at the low point, the club is actually moving left. If you go to a practice day on the PGA Tour, especially PGA and Champions Tour, the LPGA would be slightly different, but not a lot. But certainly the PGA Tour the most, Champions next, you would see divots that are either straight or slightly left. You wouldn't see any that go out to the right for a right-handed player. Because the divot is in front of the golf ball for a good player. So for an LPGA player, they got a little bit slower club speed, and we're trying to get not so much attack angle, so the swing direction becomes much closer, therefore, to the club path, which means it wouldn't be as far left and not as steep of a divot. So for this shot, which if he hit this ball in the center of the face, and today he did because the ball wouldn't go anywhere. So if he hit this ball in the center of the face with no wind, then this ball would have been a draw. In this case, it shows it went to the right, but again, have to factor the wind. If this shot, with the club face being slightly to the right of the target, this gives us a face to path of 2 degrees left. You see it right here. 2 degrees left would produce a slight draw. So with this angle of attack, the higher angle of attack skews the club path number, well, not the number itself, but skews more to the right. So that's why we don't want a big angle of attack and a way out to the right club path. The smaller this number, then the more right we want this to compensate to get the shot we want. Again, what we're after is a shot that we can predict. There are 9 shots that can produce a good outcome. You can hit it straight. You can start it to the right and curve it back to the left and end up straight at the target. You can start it left and curve it right and end up straight at the target. You can hit it low, you can hit it normal, you can hit it high. So you can hit 3 trajectories, you can start it 3 directions. All these shots can end up at the target. What we want to do is take information and see if we can use information to help us predict the patterns we want using the swing information we have to allow us to go, for you to hit this draw, we need to make sure that we're more on your right side, we're more on your left side, we're centered more, we're arm angle is higher. Whatever the case may be to get to that result. That part becomes the instructor given the right information. The way I look at teaching is, to me, the best teachers are kind of like the best doctors in that they make the right diagnosis and then they give the right prescription. So that's our job, is to make the right diagnosis, get you on board with understanding it, and then get you on board with, here's what we need to do to help you predict these shots more often. That's our job as golf instructors, is to help you learn and guide your way through predicting these things. So I'm reading a question here. Yeah, and in most cases, what we're after is, again, either a straight or slight draw. Doesn't have to be the case. We can have more down and more across and hit low fades. But in general, this is what most people want to see, and will help them hit the ball farther. And I don't have one on this scale, but if we were hitting a driver and not, in this case, an 8-iron, what we would want to see with a club, so Mike's driver speed would be about 102. It is pretty typical, just over 100. So what we want to see with his angle of attack then is more 0 to positive. PGA Tour average on driver attack angle is about negative 1.2. But they're also average a little over 110 miles an hour. LPGA average is almost positive 3. So, they're swinging 95 miles an hour, so we want to swing. The more you have a positive attack angle, especially with a driver, because we can hit it solid with a positive attack angle, the farther you can hit it. So, in general, we're trying to get the ball to go as far as we can. Now, on the PGA Tour, they got so much speed and they hit it so far anyhow that they're not really trying to maximize totally how far they can hit it, as much as they want to control the ball a little bit too. So therefore, they have a little bit of a down attack angle, which helps them have a little bit more control and give up just a slight bit of distance, but not a whole lot. So that would be the case for, if we're looking at drivers, if we're doing fittings, we're looking at what can we determine based on path-based relationship, add the attack angle, and then now we start looking at different spin rates. I'm not going to get into too much of spin loft, but what we're looking at is do we get the right height for a shot? Average height for a PGA Tour is about 90 feet. You can see this ball went 96 feet at its apex in the air. The average trajectory actually with every shot, the maximum height is usually about the same with every club. I said with PGA Tour, it's about 90 feet. The LPGA Tour goes down to about 75 feet. As speed goes down, height goes down, and so does spin. But that's why it's important. It's not like, okay, I swing at this speed, so I should have these numbers. That certainly gives us a gauge to go by and a starting point, but it's not an end-all. It is information, and again, this is a tool that gives us information so that we can go out and hit balls. At our learning center here, you hit balls out, not into we have one indoor studio at Vermeil Studio at Bryant Park where this particular TrackMan is, and we're hitting outside, watching the ball fly, because ultimately, that's what it's that information, being able to take it and how can we get the ball and see it fly and see if it does what we want it to do. So by doing that, we can take the information and we can apply the parts of the information that allow us to specifically help what we want to work on. Another big factor for me is this one right here, is swing plane. So the 59.7, that's a degree angle that this club is coming in on. And most, you would say, well, that's if you know your club lofts and lies, then you would think 59 or under 60 degrees with an 8-iron is kind of low. But Mike plays a half-inch shorter than standard club and 2 degrees flat. So it actually matches, 58.5, 59, just below 60. That's in our range of the proper swing plane for his swing. And again, that's what we're trying to match is numbers and information for each person so that we can help them with that. It's very important to me that we match swing plane number with club path. I don't want to get a swing plane that's down around 50 and this club path going out way out to the right, because now we've got the ball, if the face is at the target, the ball is going to be way over here. In general, with most of the people we teach, this face angle is a huge problem and is the most inconsistent problem. A shot, let me see, I think it's up here, maybe. Let me see if this is it. Oh, here we go. This was a young lad that was in here also tonight, and you can see we got a big hook. So if we look at the numbers, swing plane, not a lot of difference. We can see that the club path still going out to the right, and the attack angle negative, not as big of a negative attack angle, but still skews it a little to the right. But look at this ball spin or tilt of 15.4. So this is a big pull hook. And the big deal is the face at impact was pointed left. So the ball started left. The swing is going right. The face is pointed left, so the ball starts on this line, and then curvature of the ball is based on this gap. If it's hit in the center of the face, is based on this gap between the direction the club's moving and the direction the face was pointed at impact. And for whatever reason, was it a grip, was it a setup, was it a flip move, was it too much rotation, well, whatever the reason, the club face at impact was too far left. The path was actually very good. So these numbers were great. We could work with these, but we can't work with them with this combination. So the swing direction was actually to the right. And again, less attack angle moved these two close, moved swing direction and club path closer together. So swing direction slightly to the right. Everything kind of producing a draw if we could have the club face about half of this number in general. Half of this number. So if we could have a path of around 3 and a face of about 1.5, we can get a nice little shot. Starts over here because the face is pointed to the right of the target. And then since there's still a gap between club path and face, we could get a nice draw. But with the face being way over here, the only good shot would have been if we had a path about 6 degrees left here. And then it would have faded back. So let me take a minute here and just check and see if we have, if anybody's got any questions, anything in specific you want me to go over. And then we'll talk a little bit about some spin issues with drivers. And then I can go over, excuse me, whatever specific parts of this that anybody would like to touch on. So let's see if we've got any here. All right. So what is, with all this information, what becomes the most important? That's a good question. So why do we look at some and why do we not look at, we got 26 of them, and let's see up here, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 of them here. So of the 26, why do I choose these and why do I show this screen? Because this is the screen I show all the time. Because these, to me, influence the outcome of the shot. And changing these change the outcome of the shot. Some of the others are more information gathered about, basically they would be information based on what happened here would produce the other numbers. So if we go back and we can look, like hang time, obviously that's, not really important to me. If I was a long drive guy, that would be important to me. Spin axis is important, height's important, the landing angle, again, to me, not a big deal. Total yardage, we do look at that because we want to, it kind of relates to spin. Dynamic loft, we'll look at that. And again, most of these are up there. But some of these are just for the combine, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So I don't use those because we're not doing the combine. So that's why, I have the screen as it is because I can get all the information I want. Let me see if this one is the other one. I'll pull up here. Yep. Okay, so this was a young lady that was in here, a high school girl that has had a really good year, won some tournaments this year. And you look at the difference. I mean, the heights, she's hitting a 7-iron. Height was 50. Again, the ball's going nowhere tonight. But for her, I'm trying to, we're not going to have as high of an attack angle. We're going to get the club path going out more. Again, we got a little bit of wind blowing this way, but this is not bad. I wouldn't mind the face. It certainly should draw here with this if we hit it in the middle of the face. So all of these factors, and I'm looking at the dynamic loft of the club, kind of gives me an idea of where that shaft is at impact. So with all of that, it gives me a good information on knowing her swing directions to the right, her club paths to the right. Those are things I want for her. This attack angle not being super high, because you can see we're swinging this at below 70 miles an hour. So it's she's actually carries it. Let's see if we got one here. Maybe a different one. She usually carries it about 130, so you can see there's 121 carry. Different swing, and you can see kind of the same thing. Tack angle, not bad. No higher than that for her club path out to the right. Face in between club path and target, which is great. Should produce a little bit of a draw, so she must have mishit this slightly. We got swing direction going right. So all of those factors contribute to where this ball ended up. Now, one of the big factors, especially with the driver, in spin rate. People all the time are coming in going, I got to get my spin rate down, or I got to get my spin rate up. We've got not on this screen though. We use a screen, this optimizer, which shows basically on what speed you produce, what it looks like this. Maybe if it'll come up. Nope, there it goes. So it looks like this. So we would have what attack angle based on the speeds here. There you go. She carries it about that. What attack angle, what spin loft, what ball speed, what launch angle, what spin rate. If we're all in these green numbers, so now let's make this a driver. In that case, club speed, let's say it's 100 miles an hour. Carry, 250 yards. Then now all these numbers are basically how well do you fit into here. Well, here's a really key point when you're doing fittings. If you go to a store, if you go anywhere and do a fitting, I don't care where it is, you better make sure that they're testing where you hit it on the face, because the place you hit the ball on the club face determines spin more than the actual club itself. Now, certainly shafts have a factor, club heads have a factor. There are higher spin club heads, there are lower spin club heads. But in general, if you hit the ball high on the face, then it's going to spin lower or less. If you hit it low on the face, it's going to have higher spin. If you hit it towards the toe, high on the face, typically that's not way out on the toe, but slightly on the toe. That's the longest shots, because they're going to turn over and draw slightly because of what's called gear effect. But also, you're going to have lower spin. So typically, those are the shots that end up going the farthest. You hit a heel shot, and the ball kind of stays to the right a little bit. Doesn't go as far. So as we're looking at information, sometimes the information that we're seeing doesn't match because of the fact that we've got a swing that looks like, well, that ought to be great, and then we see a ball fly, given a good golf ball. But we see a ball fly and it just doesn't match. So why would it not match? Well, it's a lot to do with where you hit the ball in the face. And that becomes something that is way more important than actually trying to change your swing a lot. And when you go test clubs and you're getting different, spin rates, a lot of times it's just because you're hitting it in different places on the club. So you want to really make sure when you're doing testing that you're getting apples and apples. And, you want to test, when I hit the ball near the center, what numbers do I get with this club versus this club? Because otherwise you end up with a club and you think, wow, this one's definitely longer, and you go out and play with it and it's definitely not longer. So an easy way to test, just if you don't have tape, that face tape that goes on it, is just the good old Dr. Scholl's foot power. Just spray your face and see where you're hitting it on it. But always check that, because that's important. Now, that's not anything that TrackMan picks up or anything else, but it shows up in the numbers in that the numbers are skewed based on a off-center hit. And that happens, you can imagine that, we're not, typically not many of us are good enough to hit the ball like this consistently on the size of even a dime. So we're kind of all over the face, and when we're all over the face, we get a little bit all over the results. So that becomes, why is that happening? Spine angle or pivot or whatever it calls. So, to me, trying to influence this club path is the biggest influence, and I typically will try to influence that with setup changes and then pivot changes. So if I can get the setup in the right place based on whatever reason, is the ball too far forward, are the hands too far back, are the hands too far forward, whatever it is, balance, all those things can relate to changing, in effect, this. And then once I can get this club path close, then I'll look at attack angle, because these two correlate so much together. So I want to get attack angle and club path kind of working together the way I want, and then I'll usually deal with face angle at that point. However, if somebody was going and, there's a tournament coming up this weekend and we're in for a lesson and this is not even close, then obviously we got to deal with face angle first, because that's going to influence where the ball goes the most. But long term, my pattern would be swing plane, which has always been my main focus, swing plane, club path, attack angle, and then work face angle off of that. Well, they all work together, so it really doesn't matter how you attack it. It's just easier to work on pivot and setup to get path and attack angle correct than it is in a correction here. This correction could be a grip, could be the position of where you actually grip the club to start out with in your setup. But typically, if we can get the club in this kind of pattern, then we can get this type of face angle. So let's see if we've got any other questions up there that somebody wants an answer to that I haven't gone over. What is the main factor in shot inconsistency? And that would be a combination of what I was just talking about with hitting it all over the club face, and that's usually to do with the spine angle shifting, and then also this club path, going out 6 or 7 to the right, and then 0, and then 7 to the right, and then 2 to the left. So in general, again, focus here and focus on centered contact. Those are the two things that produce the most inconsistency. If those are pretty good, and then we've got inconsistency, it's always right here. It's always in the face for whatever the face angle is. Does it start wrong, or is the grip bad, or whatever that reason is. So another question, can you define smash factor? I can't. Smash factor is the correlation between club speed and ball speed. So the higher the smash factor, the more solid you hit the shot. It is, in essence, what we try to achieve, let's say, with a driver. As you get more loft, the smash factor just naturally goes down. Let me go back down here. Let me see if it's this one. Yep. So this was one Mike Goodis had earlier today. And we can see smash factor of 1.3 here. The relationship, you divide this into this, you get that. And really, the goal is with a driver, it's about to get a 1.5. So if I swing it at 100, I want the ball to leave at about 150 miles an hour. And if I can accomplish that, then I'm kind of maximizing that speed that I produce and given attack angles. So with an 8-iron, like it was hitting here, and he hit this really solidly, then the smash factor goes down based on the loft. So it's just it's really a correlation that gives us an idea of, again, let's say you were testing drivers. Smash factor gives us an idea of which drivers you maximize. Again, 1.5 is kind of the goal with a driver. How often do we use TrackMan when working with students? Like I say, we've actually got two launch monitors that produce these data parameters. And we've got one flight scope and we've got one TrackMan. Both of them do virtually the same thing. TrackMan gives a little bit more specific information, and it's here at our Learning Center at Bryan Park, where we partnered with Bryan Park on this. And Flight Scope sometimes is here, and sometimes we have it at our indoor studio at Burr Mill Park. So we use it a lot, but also we use video a lot. We use video in combination with Flight Scope, and then we'll just be on the range just hitting shots. So a lot of our information is, once we kind of have an idea of this is your pattern, one of the things I really believe, I talk to our team a lot about, is fix patterns, don't fix individual shots. In essence, most of you will correct shot 2 based on shot 1 and shot 3 based on shot 2, and there's really no pattern developed. And what we try to do is teach so that we fix patterns, and those patterns are, is the club path too far right, is the attack angle too far. Some of this stuff we can see. Some of it we don't know. We think we know, but when we put it on TrackMan, then we know it. But I don't know exactly how often we use TrackMan. We use it considerably, but it's not something that we use with every lesson, because a lot of times we know the student, we know what we're working on, and we know the pattern that we're trying to fix. Let's see. Any more questions? I think I went over this one. What does angle of attack have to do with overall swing direction? I think that was one of the questions we had that was sent in. I'll go over it again, but angle of attack, again, is the angle that the club is moving into the ball, into impact. With a driver, it's more zeroed out, or depending on your club speed. Most people, most golfers need positive angle of attack with a driver. It would help them hit it farther. Most average golfers have too much angle of attack. So that's kind of, and then figuring out why. Is it set up or whatever it is? Angle of attack, as it relates to swing direction, angle of attack moves the swing direction out to the right a little bit. Again, the higher angle of attack, though, the bottom of the arc becomes farther from impact. So swing direction is the measurement at the bottom of the arc. And so as it moves farther away from impact, being a higher attack angle, with the proper swing plane for the proper speed, then you get a swing direction more in the 0 to negative, just slightly left, because at the bottom it's going slightly left. But angle of attack skews the path out to the right a little bit. So again, I really appreciate everybody that's chimed in here and come in with our combine. I mean I was looking at the combine. Our webinar tonight. Certainly, you know, we wanted to make sure everybody understands that we're offering, as you signed up for this, you get $25 off of any player performance package. Drew Yantz is doing all our combine sessions. Drew's joined us this year and played at UNCG and been in the business for a while. And so he's doing our combine and player performance packages. You can go online and check that out. But basically, the combine is a 60-shot test. And it gives a lot of information. I have a really good friend who's one of the top collegiate coaches in the country, and he does a lot with the combines. And it identifies strengths and it identifies weaknesses. And using the combine, you can go through, you do this 60-shot test, basically, and you're hitting shots to all kinds of distance targets. And through the evaluation, we can tell how far away your average shot dispersion is from whatever yardage you want to choose, and then work on a plan to specifically get better. Along with that, Drew does a lot of on-course sessions. So as he works on this, we call it the PGS, which is the Precision Golf School, but in this case it's preparation, goal setting, and a strategic plan. So what we do is we go out on the course, and Drew is a little bit of teaching, a little bit of observing, and trying to find out what can we do to help take these strengths and weaknesses, turn your weaknesses where they're not as weak, and play to your strengths. So we do teaching performance sessions on the course, and then you can do certainly both, which you get the combine and then you get an on-course session. So it's $25 off if you want that. And then it's that time of year where we start offering our normal buy two, get one free instruction packages. So we'll be doing that, and you'll see that on our website. You can certainly contact Mike or Jess at the office. And those will be available starting Friday, I guess next Friday, day after Thanksgiving. We'll start that through the Christmas and then on into January a little bit. So, do we have any last questions before we check out? Again, I really appreciate everybody joining in tonight. I hope you've enjoyed our webinar, and we'll plan to do some more, so please check in with us as we look at other parts and other information that we have. Let's see, December 9th. We're going to offer the next webinar, so be looking email, Facebook, Twitter, following us there. As a matter of fact, if you're not following us, please go and follow us, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter, and we'll try to keep you updated on our next event. But yeah, we certainly appreciate it, and hope everybody has a good time and has a great night. And we will talk to you later. Thanks.